So we have a piece here about Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, and how he is cracking down on the homeless population. This is disgusting. So this is in City Limits by David Brand. Mayor's budget plan cuts $615 million from homeless services as subway crackdown intensifies. Service providers have urged the city to hire more workers to help move people more quickly out of shelter or public spaces and into permanent housing. New York City's Homeless Services Agency would see a fifth of its operating budget and 131 unfilled positions slashed under Mayor Eric Adams' $98 billion spending plan, even as a new aggressive effort to drive unhoused New Yorkers out of the subway system gets underway. Adams' first preliminary budget, released Wednesday, would lower Department of Homeless Services from spending from around $2.8 billion to $2.15 billion in the 2023 fiscal year, due mostly to the loss of about $500 million in COVID-related federal funding allocated to the agency, budget documents show. The city would also direct less money to adult shelters in the upcoming fiscal year, which begins July 1st. I want to quickly note, you guys, that we talk a lot about MMT. I just did talk about MMT. The federal government should be funding this kind of shit, you guys, because the city of New York is budgetarily constrained in a way that the federal government is not. So it shouldn't just be about COVID. This should be funded. This and many other social programs should be funded federally, in my opinion. Carrying on here. DHS trimmed a combined $109 million this fiscal year and next as part of Adams' program to eliminate the gap post-cutting mandate. The bulk of the PEG savings came from the move to end the use of commercial hotels for families with children, a goal the city fulfilled last year. DHS will also cut 131 positions that it said were budgeted but never assigned to a specific program area. In addition, the agency re-estimated the cost of faith-based shelters, some of which closed, and shelter repairs to achieve additional savings, but said the PEG cuts will not result in loss of services. So this is who Eric Adams is, okay? Eric Adams is a former New York City police captain. Eric Adams is corrupt. He promoted his brother to be, I believe it was deputy commissioner, but someone can check me on that, of the NYPD, his own brother. He also appointed a known corrupt cop to essentially be his advisor, that is his liaison to the New York police force, okay? A cop who'd been caught up in a bribery scandal was the person that Eric Adams tapped for this. He also has increased in that budget proposal funding for New York police. So what are we going to do with the homeless? Should we help them or should we brutalize and arrest them? Eric Adams says the latter. But he also conveniently wants to hide behind identity politics, as Ross Barkin has done some great work reporting. Eric Adams, whenever there's any criticism of him whatsoever, he calls it racism, which for somebody who is inflicting the force of the police department against largely racial minority communities and impoverished communities is awfully, hypocritical of him, to say the least. So Eric Adams has been a predictably horrific mayor thus far, and here is another example of it. For those that, haven't heard me talk about this before, or many of the others on our network or others talk about this before, the solution to homelessness is very easy. You provide them housing, and you pull people out of poverty, and you provide robust mental health services, and you provide rehabilitation services. You provide education, you provide healthcare, and more. But, there is a very close correlation between mental health struggles and homelessness, in particular schizophrenia and homelessness. There's also a strong correlation between substance abuse and homelessness. If you want to cut into homelessness, you provide services to help people with those issues. You provide mental health services, and you put them in a house, okay? I also want to point out there are a lot of institutional hurdles to getting a job for someone who's homeless, okay? When you go to a job interview, you bathe before that, right? A homeless person has limited options to do so. When you set up an interview, you communicate via technology, right? Whether it's over email or a phone call or whatever. A lot of homeless people do not have access to such things, okay? You apply online. Does a homeless person have access to that? There's also the element of, a lot of businesses do not like seeing any gap in employment, which is outrageous. You have any gap in employment and you're automatically below other candidates, which means that there's a permanent disadvantage for those who are unhoused. So The obvious answer to actually cutting into homelessness is to provide robust housing and social services. It's really, really fucking simple. It's not a difficult problem to solve, but we treat it like it's an impossible problem to solve. Eric Adams here, predictably doing exactly the opposite of what would actually be effective at dealing with this problem. He is cracking down on them further. He wants the police to deal with them, and he wants them arrested and brutalized instead of helped. And shame on Eric Adams for that. What a repulsive position for him to take on homelessness. We'll keep tracking that issue and his outrageous mayoral term going forward.